Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Clay here from the Sizzling Sasquatch food truck and restaurant. Another Canadian, kind of fed up with the way things are going in this country and on his journey to America. Anyways, I wanted to talk to my Canadians today. Um, it's kind of it's kind of disheartening to see because we've been Canadians since Canadians, because if you remember 3 years ago, I don't want to get too political here. I don't want to pit anybody against anybody. I believe in what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and we gotta call it for what it is, okay? So, it wasn't even 3 years ago that there was this convoy all the way across Canada with truckers and Canadian patriots, and they were going across the country to go fight for your freedoms and your rights and your jobs and everything else. And our government came out and denounced us, the Liberals and the NDP and everybody else. They came out and denounced us Canadians that flew that flag right there. See that flag? We flew that flag. We were Nazis. We were racists. We were intolerant. We were misogynists. We were unacceptable fringe. And we were told that we were bigoted and we were not welcome in this country, okay? They pitted Canadians against Canadians, okay? And that was unacceptable, okay? Unacceptable on the fullest level. Now, all of a sudden, it's okay to fly this flag, okay? You're not a racist anymore. You're not a misogynist. You're not intolerant. You're not a homophobe or an Islamophobe or any other of the phobes. You're none of that. If you're flying this flag right now, you are celebrated and praised because of this whole, what the media and the Liberals and the NDP have told you, or us, that it's America's fault that we have all these problems, right? They're saying it wasn't them for the last 9 years that put us in this position. It was Donald Trump and the Americans that are causing this problem right now. And it really grinded my gears to see Canadians booing the Americans and their anthem when we were playing hockey the other day. That's not very Canadian, and that's not very cool, okay? And it's so easily forgotten here that it wasn't the Americans and it's not Donald Trump that did this to us, okay? It is the government in charge right now that's been in charge for the last 9 years. They've done everything they possibly can to put us in this position, so we're feeling like this. For the last 9 years, they did everything they possibly could to make me and my family suffer underneath their regime and feel the way we feel. So we're looking towards America for brighter futures because it's just too hard to survive here in Canada. It's unattainable. Everything's broken right now. And there may be some light on the horizon, we don't know, but right now is not the time to be turning our backs on our Americans. I've been, since I started this channel here, talking about how I wanted to bring my family to America and find greener pastures, I have a whole bunch of disgruntled Canadians calling me a traitor, saying that I'm turning my back on Canada. I have been Canada. I was Canada the whole time. You know who's turned their back on us is Canada. Maybe not you people, but the Canadian government, the Canadian life, it's turned its back on us. We were promised that if we went to work and we worked hard, we would be able to have a nice family and afford a nice house and have nice things and live a nice life. Okay, that's not the case. That's why we are taking off to America, so we can still maybe have this dream, because it's just not happening here, right? So being called a traitor and watching everybody pit against everybody and the Americans And I'll tell you right now, I'm not a traitor. I'm just doing what's best for my family. And riding out the storm that has been caused for the last 9 years isn't smart for my family. It's not a good plan. It's not a good plan to sit here and suffer for who knows how long. Maybe there will be a change here shortly and a new government will come into play. But that doesn't mean it's going to get fixed overnight. And I still, me as the head of the household with a wife and a daughter, I still have to do what's best for our family. And what's best for our family is to ensure our future. And our future has been shattered here. So it really breaks my heart to see everybody out there blaming Donald Trump and the Americans for everything that's happening right now when they so easily forgot that it was the last 9 years of this government that has done this to us. It was the last 9 years of this government that put us in this position where we're so dependent and we're so broken and we have nothing and we can't support ourselves and we can't live without the American government. Okay, and I found this thing here, and it sums it all up really well. And I'm gonna take a minute here, and I'm gonna share it here. So here it goes. It says, "Hello, Canada. Are you angry with Trump? Are you really pissed? You may not agree with his methods right now, but give it some time. Now, Canada, this is what Trump was not responsible for. Okay." He did not stop our export pipelines from being built. Okay, that was the Trudeau Liberal and NDP governments. Okay, he did not drive $500 billion of capital investments out of Canada. That was the current government right now too. Trump did not stall the growth of our GDP / capita for the last 10 years. That wasn't him. That wasn't the Americans. That was this government right now, the Liberal government, okay? Trump did not flood our country with thousands of migrants, okay? And it's not a bad thing that we have migrants. My wife was a temporary foreign worker. She came here the proper way and she did her thing and she paid her dues and she worked hard and she never took anything from the government, and now she's a Canadian citizen. And we've been through some hard times before, and not once when I thought of the idea of maybe looking for some help, she said, "No, I will not take a dime of that money. I'm going to go to work and we're going to work even harder." Okay? So that wasn't the Americans' fault that all these tens of thousands or millions, hundreds, of people that have come here. That wasn't them. That was the government that opened the doors and told everybody to come here when we didn't have the infrastructure in place, we didn't have the housing, and we didn't have the supports, and we weren't prepared. They just kind of let everybody in. That wasn't Donald Trump's fault, and that sure wasn't the Americans' fault. Okay? Donald Trump did not triple our debt with out-of-control spending. That was not him. That was not the Americans. That was the current government that's been in power for the last 10 years. Right here, right now. They're the ones that have been spending out of control, and they're the ones that have caused this problem and these inflations. It was not the Americans. And it was definitely not Donald Trump, okay? Trump didn't cause our housing to skyrocket. What caused our housing to skyrocket was the inflationary spending that we just talked about there, the hundreds of billions of dollars, the driving out all the economy, okay? And then bringing in more people than we have houses, so everybody's competing for the same thing. That wasn't Donald Trump's fault, and that definitely was not the Americans' fault. Trump didn't make the Canadian government borrow $600 billion. No, he didn't. It wasn't him, and it wasn't the Americans. It was Justin Trudeau and the Liberals that did this to us, okay? That was them that were borrowing because they're out of control spending, okay? And that's how that happened, okay? Trump did not legalize hard drugs like fentanyl and opium and crack cocaine. He did not legalize that stuff. That wasn't him. That was Justin Trudeau and the Liberals and the NDP governments working hand in hand together. That was them who did it. And now we have a crisis on our hands with My brother is a victim of this crisis, okay? He passed away 3 years ago. October 15th, that just passed 3 years ago. He passed away in the gutter in Calgary by himself, and when he was overdosing, someone robbed him and left him there by himself, and they didn't even call him an ambulance, okay? Because this government promoted this sort of stuff and was giving it away, okay? Wasn't Donald Trump, wasn't the Americans. Donald Trump did not create this healthcare crisis, okay? He sure didn't. This crisis has been a long time coming, okay? It never used to be like this years ago. It used to be great. I used to have a family doctor, and we used to have great healthcare. But it's not like that anymore, and it definitely wasn't the Americans' fault, okay? And it definitely wasn't Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump didn't cause 1/3 of Canadians to go hungry and use the food bank and cause the usage to double. That wasn't his fault, and that wasn't America's fault. That's this government's fault with their reckless agenda and plan. Okay? Trump didn't turn our dollar into monopoly money. That's worthless. That wasn't Trump, and that wasn't the Americans. That was this government, and it's out of control spending. Okay? They've been spending like there's no tomorrow, and now our dollar's worth nothing. It's worth absolutely nothing, and it can't buy nothing. And that's why everything's so expensive and inflation, because we're doubling the amount of money supply and not the amount of goods, okay? That is this government that is in charge right now's fault, okay? Trump didn't push DEI in our country. That caused many to be hired, not for their expertise, but for their color, gender, ethnicity, or political connection. So we were passing up the best and the brightest for this thought experiment that if we just gave everybody the same opportunity, even though they're not qualified, that life would be a lot better off. And we're starting to see now that not giving people opportunity based on merit and the people that have worked so hard for it and earned it and deserve it has been a total disaster on every level. Okay? It's just gotten out of control. And I think things are coming around. I don't know. I don't hate anybody for their color of their skin, how they identify or what they want to do. That is their business, and they're free to do whatever they want. But they should not be afforded opportunities based on that criteria over merit or the best suited for the job. That's bigotry and racist on its own. Like, I don't get it. Okay? Trump didn't make Trudeau break his promise to the veterans. Okay? He totally dismantled our military and destroyed it. And there's a reason why recruiting's so low right now, and we got such a weak military. He's done everything he can to take that from us and degrade the people that are in it. They're too masculine, they're too toxic, it's too rough, they're not diverse, like all this stuff. And then the lack of investment in it. What kind of people want to go into a military where you got a veteran that comes up and he's had his leg blown off in Afghanistan, and he comes up and he talks to Justin Trudeau in a town hall meeting, and Justin Trudeau looks him in the face after he just gave his life almost and his friends have died, and says that you guys are asking for more than we can give right now. We can't take care of the people that are fighting for our country and losing their lives, but we can just shell out money like it's going out of style to the rest of the world for all sorts of ridiculous things for no reason. And we can have these slush funds, and we can make sure all of our liberal friends get all the contracts, and consultants can get paid all the money that the government workers are supposed to be doing for consulting, hundreds of millions of dollars into the tune of billions. And just the wasteful spending. Like, what is Justin Trudeau even doing right now over in Europe right now? He's on his way out the door, and he's spending like millions and millions of dollars on security detail, food, and entourage, and everything else right now. I mean, he's on his way out the door. How is that helpful for Canada? We're over here having a crisis, and he's running around Europe. It makes no sense to me. Like, for someone that cares so much about Canada first, Canada, all of a sudden, it's just like, what are you doing over there? Okay? Trump didn't do that to our military, okay? That was this liberal government. Trump did not force Trudeau to slap us with a carbon tax that nobody wanted, and that has done little but make life more expensive for us. That wasn't Trump. That wasn't the Americans. Okay? It wasn't Trump every April 1st that says we're going to crank up the carbon tax. April Fools, you get a carbon tax increase. That wasn't Trump, and that wasn't the Americans. Okay? It just wasn't. It was this government, the liberal government that's in power right now. That's who it was. It wasn't Trump that decided we were going to jack up the capital gains tax. It wasn't Trump that decided, oh, we're going to jack up the payroll tax that just passed on January 1st there, so you can pay extra on your paycheck every month. That wasn't Trump. That was this government and their brainchild of ideas, okay? That wasn't the Americans. It was this government that has destroyed this country. It was this government that pitted Canadians against Canadians. It was this government that told us that this flag was a sign of racism, nationalism, and Nazism, and that it was unacceptable. Okay? It was this government. And now all of a sudden, there's all these Canadians, all of a sudden, that are blaming America and Donald Trump for all these problems because Donald Trump wants to liberate us of this thing that's happening to us, that's been happening to us, that's no good for anything or anyone. He wants to, I don't think he's going to make us the 51st state. I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't think he wants to do business with the people that have put him down for the last 9 years since he's been in power, or since he first got elected, and have sat there and talked down about him the entire time. And the same people that have done this to their country and their people up here, up north, maybe he's concerned for us, what we're going through, and he doesn't want to see it happening because it's right on his doorstep. That us Canadians are feeling so disgruntled that we want to move to America. And maybe he wants to help Canada. Maybe we don't understand it right now. But I'll tell you right now, it wasn't the Americans and it wasn't Donald Trump that killed all of our pipeline projects. It wasn't Donald Trump that made all the wood mills up here shut down. It wasn't Donald Trump that takes 20 years to build a mine up here and get it approved. It wasn't Donald Trump that was the other day just killed a liquid oil refinery over in Kitimat. That wasn't Donald Trump. That was this government. So I don't know why everybody's out there booing the Americans and raging on each other and calling us traitors and so mad at us because it wasn't us. Okay? And I don't know why the Liberals all of a sudden think that it's Canada first and Canada strong and flying this flag is all of a sudden acceptable when they divided us for flying this flag before. But now all of a sudden you fly this flag and you're a patriot, you're a Canadian. Well, I've been flying this flag for most of my life, since I was a teenager. I'm almost 40 now. I've been flying this flag. And the last couple years, it just felt like it was just, I was a bad person for doing it. It almost felt ashamed to fly that flag, because if people saw you flying that flag, I used to have a sticker on the back of my truck. It was a Canadian flag that said freedom. And I went and dropped my kid off at school one day, and one of the parents came over to my car and he was taking pictures of it. And I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I didn't know there was Nazis here that went to this school and dropped their kids off, you Nazi." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Look at you and your shaved head. Look at you and your shaved head and flying your Canadian flag, you Nazi." And we got in a big deal about it. First of all, I'm Métis, okay? I'm Métis. My wife is Filipino. My kid is half Métis, half Filipino. And when he found that out, he started apologizing. But because I was flying this flag that the government told him was so unacceptable and so racist, he came over and assumed because I was flying that flag that I'm a racist. Okay? So I had to have an argument with someone outside of my kid's school over flying this flag. But now, flying this flag is all of a sudden acceptable, and everybody's standing behind this government that broke this country and put us in this position. Okay, this position, it's not going to last forever, but it's like this now. And I'm not going to be called a traitor to my country because I don't want to stick it out here and suffer and never have anything. That's I got to do what's best for my family, and I'm sorry, but America's looking pretty darn awesome right now, okay? Regardless of who's in charge, the lifestyle, the quality of life, the taxes, the affordable, everything is just half price. It's better. So, whatever. I hate to get political. I hate to go into it. That's not me. I've been flying this flag since day one, and I'm not a traitor, and I definitely don't hate Americans, and I definitely don't hate what's going on right now, because it's not America's fault that our government did this to us. And I think we as Canadians, we need to remember how and why this is like this in the first place. Okay? It's like this because of the government, their policies, their spending, and their reckless ideas that have done this to us in the first place. So this is probably one of the last rants you're going to hear about anything crazy political. I don't care what side you associate yourself with, left, right, middle, center, up, down, sideways. It doesn't matter to me. All that matters to me is living the best life I can with me and my family. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, Canada, it's just not here right now. That's why we're working our butts off to go to America. So you can hate us, you can love us, you can do what you want, but just remember, it's not our brothers and sisters to the south that caused this. It's that guy that's running around Europe right now that caused this. And we are suffering the consequences, and somehow they've managed to make it look like it was America's fault. We shouldn't be booing their anthem, and we shouldn't be mad at Americans because it's not their fault. It's Canada's fault. And unfortunately, we voted this thing in. I wasn't personally me, but there was enough people out there that were under the impression that the budget balances itself to keep voting this dude in. So we are where we are, and hopefully it doesn't continue for too long, but it's not America's fault. And I sure hope that things do change around here, and we do have a change of government, and everybody stops hating America, and don't change your vacation plans. Don't hate Americans, because it's not their fault, and it's not America's government's fault. It's our fault. We did this. Our government did this. So, love you, Canada. God bless America, and thanks for watching.